Are you wondering the best way to handle scheduling your clients? Do you require that they keep the same time slot every single week? Do they need to commit to weekly therapy or do you allow them to schedule every other week? How far out do you book in advance in a way that feels manageable to you? I found that many clinicians struggle to know how to handle scheduling in a way that is clinically best for their clients, but also honors the therapist's own boundaries. So, if that resonates, then today's episode is for you. I'll be talking about tips and tricks for knowing how to schedule in a way that serves your clients well and also is sustainable for you.
Hey, Christian therapist, are you craving a counseling career that aligns with your faith and actually supports your well being? Welcome to the Prosperous Christian Therapist Podcast. I'm Kimberly Van Hooser, Christian therapist, private practice owner, and business coach for mental health professionals like you. In this podcast, you'll get practical strategies and faith-led guidance to help you build a thriving private practice, one that serves your clients well and makes an impact for the kingdom of God. So what are you waiting for? Grab your notebook and join me for today's episode.
Welcome to the Prosperous Christian Therapist Podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Van Hooser. Before I dive into the content of today's episode, I want to let you know about an awesome free webinar that I'm going to be doing coming up on April 24th. It's called Discerning God's Leading in Your Practice. This is going to be a time of guided prayer and vision casting with God. It's an intentional time to pause, to listen, and to seek God's guidance in your business. What's really kept me in private practice for so long and had me stay in a place where it has felt fulfilling is my ability to take time with the Lord and really seek and discern His voice for what He's calling me to do. Because there have been times when I'm like, this is too hard. I'm tired. I don't want to do it anymore. But whenever that has happened in the past and I take time just to sit with God, I feel a confirmation that it's something I'm still supposed to be doing. And then another cool aspect of being in partnership with God in your private practice is wherever you lack wisdom, where you lack strategy, God doesn't. So we can take that time with Him to really just pray and ask Him to give us wisdom and guidance where we need it. If we have a vision, but we don't know how we're going to get there, we can ask Him to show us the next step. Having a close partnership with God is something that has really been integral for my private practice. And I love helping other clinicians be able to develop that for themselves too. So if that's something that sounds like you need, make sure that you register for my webinar. I'll leave the link to register in the show notes below. If you cannot attend live, make sure you still register so you can receive the recording. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about scheduling clients. I'll be talking about things like how frequently do you schedule clients? How far in advance do you schedule them? How do you handle clients that might want to come in every other week? How do you develop a method that is working best for the clinical needs of your client, but also is not making scheduling a complete nightmare or headache for you? This is an area where I often see a lot of clinicians struggling to know how to handle well. They might be basing their scheduling policies on what others have told them they're supposed to do versus looking at what does their client actually need and then what do they need as a clinician, what works best for their life. So there are two questions I think are really important for a clinician to be asking themselves when they are scheduling a client. The first one is this good or beneficial for my client's clinical needs? And the second one, does this work for me as the clinician? Do I feel good about scheduling a client the way that I'm scheduling them? And when I say scheduling, I want you to start thinking about like how frequently are you scheduling that client? Are they coming in weekly, multiple times a week, every other week, monthly, as needed? And then flexibility. Are you requiring them to hold the same time slot or consistency in their schedule, or are you allowing some flexibility, kind of play it by ear every single week? How does that impact them and how does that impact you? The answers to your questions are going to change based on the type of population that you work with. It might even change based on specific clients on your caseload. They're going to have different needs. It's not going to be one size fits all. So let's focus on that first question I brought up. Is the way that you're scheduling a client beneficial for your client, meaning that it is taking care of their clinical needs at this time? Years ago, I took a private practice training where I was told that I needed to be scheduling clients at the same time slot every single week, and I shouldn't allow every other week therapy. I shouldn't allow monthly check ins. And the person who was leading the training was making the point that most often people are going to need to commit to consistency. They're probably going to get a lot better results if they are doing more frequent therapy. And that makes sense to me. But with my population that I serve, a lot of them do actually better with every other week therapy. My clients tend to be relatively high functioning and they also tend to be very busy and active. So making time every single week for therapy doesn't always feel conducive to their schedule. They also don't always have enough time to sit and do some reflective work between sessions when they've been weekly. There's also often a financial component with clients sometimes. I'm a private pay practice, so clients are paying out of pocket, and sometimes they don't have the means or ability to attend weekly therapy. And you do have to be careful because you don't want to allow the client to be the ones who are defining best treatment, but you also want to be sensitive to any limitations or barriers that they might have and see if there's a way that you can work with them that's going to benefit them and not harm them. So, quite often on phone consultations, I'll have clients ask how frequently they should attend session. Usually, I ask them, how often do you want to attend session and what do you think that you need? That gives me an idea of why they're asking that. Do they have any fears or concerns about what they can commit to, either financially or time wise? And then how are they feeling in terms of how much support that they're needing? So I do want to have an idea of what the client is feeling. That will allow me to address any concerns that they have about, like I said, finances or their ability to attend. And sometimes they don't have any concerns, they're just curious. And then when I respond, I let them know I can't give them a firm or definitive answer before I've seen them. However, I kind of share with them what has usually worked best in the past or with the majority of clients that I work with. In my case, I usually ask that clients can attend a few weekly consecutive sessions up front. And then once we feel like we have some good grounding, we have a firm foundation, we have a clear idea of their goals, and they also have some tools to equip them to handle challenges outside of session. And then we can talk about if it's a good plan to reduce our therapy to every other week or eventually monthly. But once more, I always want to be coming back to, is monthly therapy enough for my client? Is every other week therapy enough for my client? If I believe that it's clinically necessary for clients to attend weekly therapy and they say they're unable to do that based on finances or whatever it is, then I will refer out or suggest that they find a clinician that is able to accommodate their schedule or their financial needs, because you never want to be doing something that is causing harm to your client. However, sometimes having therapy twice a month, even if ideally they'd want to have it weekly, twice a month might be enough. It might be better than them not having any therapy. Just take into account what are the clinical needs of your client and is your scheduling actually helping them meet those needs or is it putting them in harm's way? So, the other question that you want to be asking yourself when you're scheduling clients is not only is this going to be beneficial for my client, but what actually works best for me? Running a business can already be relatively stressful and chaotic feeling, and you want to have your scheduling methods be something that is not adding to that. You want your scheduling to be something that actually allows you to have a smooth day and a smooth week. You want to feel good about the work that you're doing with clients and knowing that your scheduling is not something that's actually inhibiting you from doing your best practice. So, if you're someone who would really benefit from having consistency in your schedule where clients are committing to the same time slot every single week until they're done with therapy, it's okay to set that boundary with prospective clients. They have a choice to come in and see you or to not. So, if you're really clear with your boundaries and what you require up front, it gives them that choice still. And then the ones who choose to work with you are doing so in full acknowledgement and understanding of your scheduling policies. That can make things a lot easier if you have someone who commits to the same time slot every single week, because then you're very aware of what time slots are already filled and what ones are going to be available for new clients. If you end up taking on too many clients who are working with you every other week, that can create a little more challenges with your schedule. It makes it feel more like a puzzle piece. Okay, I have someone coming in every other Tuesday at 2 p.m. Now I need to find a client who can meet that opposite week where they're coming in and filling that time slot. Or I'm going to have a random hole in my schedule every other Tuesday. Can I handle that? For me personally, at this time of my life, I actually enjoy having some flexibility in my schedule. I don't mind seeing clients at different times on different days of the week. That actually works best for me sometimes because sometimes I can't always be available every single Monday or every single Friday. I also love working with clients long term who want to come see me for monthly sessions or maybe as needed. And I don't see that as detrimental or creating this crutch for them. For them, it's beneficial to have a familiar person that they know they can reach out to in order to get support when they're having some challenging times and not necessarily needing to reopen the door of weekly therapy. But you need to ask yourself what works best for you. If you're someone who likes to keep a very full caseload, it doesn't have a lot of buffer room or wiggle room, maybe you don't have time for people who are holding up a time slot once a month. So there's not a black and white answer for this is the best way for how you schedule clients. The most important thing is always checking in to make sure that you're not causing harm to clients based on scheduling and that you're not harming yourself. So, is the way that you're scheduling clients beneficial for them? And is it beneficial for you? You also have permission to make changes to your scheduling process and to your availability because your life will probably change over the next months or years. What has worked for you in the past might not work for you now. What works for you now might not always work for you in the future. So, if you ever do need to make some changes to your scheduling, or maybe you have clients on your caseload where you've been allowing scheduling processes that are going to need to change, have a conversation with them, let them know what changes are going to be coming and why, and then give them time to learn how to adjust to that. You may end up having to terminate clients. And that's okay as well too, but you want to be working towards an ethical termination, transitioning them to another therapist that can work with their schedule needs in a way that they feel supported. One other thing I feel like is important to mention is considering how far in advance you do schedule your clients. If you have a client who's maybe monthly and they prefer the first Monday of the month at 3 p.m., but then you have a new client call who wants 3 o'clock weekly on Mondays, it can be kind of awkward to tell that client, well, I have 3 o'clock available on Mondays for 3 weeks out of the month, but once a month you're going to have to come in at like 2 p.m. or 1 p.m. I personally don't like to schedule clients more than 1 month in advance. This gives me a little bit more of a sense of control in the ability to know what my schedule is going to be looking like coming up, and then to also make adjustments and changes if needed. I've also encountered clinicians who will have so many different clients on their caseload, and they'll schedule a new client who comes in for a first session, and then they don't have any availability to see that person again for another month. And that person might need to have a little bit more consistency in their treatment. So that's something to keep in mind too. As you're scheduling a new client for the first time, make sure there's some space and availability. If they're going to be needing or requiring weekly sessions, do you have room to give that to them? I hope this episode is beneficial for you and hopefully helpful in getting you to think about what are your scheduling needs and what are the needs of your clients and finding a way that works best for both of you. Thank you so much for listening today. If you've been feeling stuck in your practice, or maybe you're feeling like you're lacking some wisdom in certain areas for how to grow your private practice, maybe you're brand new and looking at launching a private practice in the next few months, I do offer private practice coaching. I'd love to have you book a clarity call with me. This is a 45-minute private coaching call in which I can help you get unstuck. If you need some help and guidance in hearing God's voice for you, I'm happy to help where I can with that. I never want to tell you what God is saying to you, but I want to help you figure that out for yourself. And I love to do that in coaching sessions when people are wanting that. Make sure you join me for my upcoming webinar on April 24th, Discerning God's Leading for Your Practice. And feel free to email me at kimberly@kimberlyvanhooser.com if you have any questions. Thanks for listening, and I hope you join me next week. If you found value in today's episode, would you leave a written review on Apple Podcasts? It helps other faith-led clinicians like you find the show. And don't forget to join my free Facebook community, Start and Grow Your Private Practice as a Christian Therapist, where you'll join other clinicians for encouragement, accountability, and free tips and support. See you there.